before the sold-out stadiums, before the Billboard Awards, before millions of they felt natural. They pushed themselves because they knew no one else would do it for them. They wrote their own music, sharing their thoughts about pressure, expectations, identity, and growing up. But at the time, very few people were listening. Success didn't come quickly. There were nights filled with exhaustion, days filled with doubt, and moments where continuing felt harder than stopping. There were times when members wondered if the group would even survive. Financial struggles made the future uncertain. The path ahead looked unstable and unclear, but even then, they chose not to give up on each other. In their early years, BTS often stood on smaller stages. They attended award shows, but usually left without trophies. They watched other artists celebrate wins, while they returned home with only experience and hope. They were compared to bigger groups from larger companies. They were underestimated. Sometimes they were ignored completely by the industry. Online criticism added more weight. Every performance felt like it had something to prove. Interviews from that time show young artists trying to stay confident while facing uncertainty. Behind the smiles were real worries. Would people ever listen to their music? Would their message ever be heard? Would all their effort mean something? The pressure was heavy, the future was unclear, and yet, quitting was never the final choice, because even during those difficult moments, they chose to stay together. They reminded each other why they started. They talked through their fears. They leaned on their friendship. They found strength in shared struggles. Slowly, they began to realize that their power wasn't just talent, it was unity. Instead of following trends, BTS focused on telling real stories. They spoke about youth struggles, pressure, mental health, and dreams. They talked about feeling lost in a world full of expectations. They talked about fear of failure. They talked about hope for something better. Their lyrics felt like conversations rather than performances. Their music felt like comfort rather than perfection. Through social media, they shared parts of their real lives, their humor, their practice moments, their small celebrations, their tired smiles at the end of long days. Fans didn't just see idols, they saw humans with real emotions. People around the world began to relate to their words. Even if they didn't speak the same language, they understood the emotions. That honesty created a connection that grew stronger every year. Slowly, their audience expanded beyond Korea. Fans translated their content, shared their music with friends, spread their message online. It wasn't a sudden explosion of fame. It was a steady rise built on trust and authenticity. Song by song, performance by performance, their fan base grew. And with that growth came confidence. Years passed, and the group that once performed on small stages began selling out arenas. The cheers became louder, the venues became bigger, the stages became brighter. The world slowly started paying attention. Then came world tours, international awards, historic achievements that no one had imagined during their debut days. But what made BTS different wasn't just the scale of their success. It was the journey behind it. Every achievement carried the weight of the years they struggled. Every stage they stood on was built on moments when they almost gave up, but didn't. They didn't rise overnight. They climbed step by step, together, through injuries, through criticism, through overwhelming schedules and pressure. They faced the challenges of global fame, yet they continued to speak about self-love, growth, and resilience. They reminded fans that it's okay to be imperfect, that it's Okay to take time to grow. That strength sometimes comes from vulnerability and the world slowly. Realize this was more than a music group. This was a story of perseverance. A story of friendship. A story of believing in something bigger than yourself. BTS journey reminds us that success doesn't always start with advantages. Sometimes it starts with belief in yourself and in the people beside you. They trusted their teamwork, they trusted their message, and they kept going when progress felt invisible. They proved that small beginnings do not limit big dreams. They showed that sincerity can cross borders, and they reminded millions that it's okay to struggle on the way to something greater. That's why their story continues to inspire people far beyond music, because it proves that even when the beginning is small, the impact can become global. Before the fame, before the records, before the world knew their name, there were 7 young artists who refused to give up on their dream or on each other, and that is what makes BTS success not just impressive, but unforgettable.